So this is a faithful adaptation with all the issues that come with it. Watchmen is one of those comics that is considered a staple of the community. It's one of the comics often cited as the greatest comic book story of all time. It stands with other stories like The Long Halloween, The Dark Phoenix Saga, All-Star Superman, Kingdom Come, and Daredevil Born Again. It's almost, I would say, to its detriment. It's an article of its time. As this film goes on, you'll see what I mean when I say it's problematic in more than a few ways. Should it be changed? No. We should preserve all the mistakes and issues from Alan Moore's iconic work as long as we see where and why it's wrong. Let's dive in. A comedian died tonight, and damn it, do I love a good detective story. And yes, I do know what happens, and yes, we all know who the killer/killers are. We all know the joke, but nonetheless, let's enjoy this new take on an old case. It looks pretty good to me. The art style is very unique and something I really enjoyed. It reminds me of something from a Telltale game, and that's only a compliment. With the comedian dead, we dive into a wide cast of characters, each with their own role to play in a larger story. Rorschach discusses the end of the world that's coming, and we actually get a sense of the weight of those words. Remember that this is a story in a time capsule. Moore wrote this as if superheroes were real and weaponized, which, let's be honest, they would be. With the world on the edge, instead of diplomacy, Dr. Manhattan's presence in Vietnam opens the door for Nixon to seek a third term, and it's granted. Because Nixon isn't very diplomatic, the Cold War only escalates because cooler heads would not prevail. Apologies for the history lesson, but context is everything in a story like this. The comedian is a complicated character. Let me be clear. The dude is a monster, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything we can get from a second run at this story. He is a deeply flawed individual who says that the end of the world is coming, and he cracked. Even the most negative and nihilistic person on the planet, he has to admit he is afraid of the biggest joke of them all. This movie does a great job of reflecting more themes than even the Zack Snyder version. This movie is able to do a job of exploring more themes than even the Zack Snyder film was able to. That movie is a stone cold classic, on par with other great works like The Legend of the Guardians and, checks notes, Army of Thieves. Sarcasm aside, it's a solid film, but it's not perfect, and this version of the story really takes its time to feel like a visual novel, really getting into the undertones of the story and how Dr. Manhattan was the only thing holding the world back from World War III. In a world of escalating stakes, no one is willing to talk and back down. Diplomacy has failed. Followed closely would be the story of Miss Laurie Jupiter and Daniel Dreiberg. Dreiberg. Fuck, I need to work on my pronunciations. Now, you can tell that there's chemistry there. They share a few intimate moments, and even though Laurie says that she's happy mass heroes are outlawed, you can tell she misses the action. And this is when it gets complicated for the first time. Well, I guess technically the second time? I'm not saying communism is the answer for everything, Rorschach, but I think basic human rights to healthcare and education are a thing, but fuck me. That said, it's well known that the comedian tried to, and I have to use this because of YouTube, S.A. the original Silk Spectre. Rorschach calls that a moral lapse. Which is weird coming from the guy who's so high and mighty on the law. Spray painting a building? Get your ass beat. Attempted essay? Dude was serving his country and he made a mistake. That's terrible. Oh yeah, and the comedian kills a pregnant woman with his baby. So, yeah, Dr. Manhattan. He's the monster. Now, looking back, talking about the comedian's immoral history is a good thing. It makes us dislike him. But there's a little bit of a problem. Spoilers for a comic book older than me. Laurie goes to visit her mother, the attempted SA victim. When she finds out that the comedian was killed, she says, "Poor Edward." She's forgiven him because it was in their youth. It's later revealed that Edward and Laurie did end up sleeping together, this time consensually, and that's how she got Laurie. That's why she forgave him, because she has her daughter. Now look, on one end, I get it. It's a way to talk about the complicated nature of humanity. How something beautiful could come from something so dark and heinous. On the other end, rapists have no redeeming qualities, so fuck them. That said, the detective story only continues to get better from there, until Rorschach is cornered and taken to jail at the end of the film. but the story is only halfway there. But I feel like this film does everything right, whereas Infinite Crisis failed. That trilogy of movies never focused on only a handful of characters. It kept jumping way too much with stakes way too high. It felt mandated that Batman was so front and center so often. Whereas this movie feels complete, even though it ends with a cliffhanger, and I'm here for it. The art's great, and honestly, I'm looking forward to part 2. This movie, at least for me, it's a 7.5 out of 10. But what about you folks? What's your favorite Alan Moore comic? Also, do us a favor, please like and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. And yeah, we'll catch you all next time. We'll see everybody.